Hey guys, welcome to Karate Talk with Shihan and Shihan. How's it going, Shihan?
Good. How are you, Shihan?
Good. I'm great. It's just funny to hear that back and forth. But anyways, we're on episode number 4 today, so super excited about this series.
We're counting.
I know. We're counting, right? I'm actually trying to keep this in line, and hopefully we'll stay consistent.
Someday we'll be able to refer back to episode 4, and you'll know where to go.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about self-defense. So self-defense is kind of a broad topic, but basically what I wanted to talk to kind of the general population out there. We know a lot of our martial arts students take their self-defense active training and make sure they're going to class and staying up on their curriculum and the mental side of it. Mm-hmm. But what could somebody out there maybe do on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly, monthly, weekly, annually? I mean, there's lots of different time frames that you can look at on how involved you want to be.
Sure.
So speaking of involved, I wanted to highlight Shihan. He went to a pretty cool adventure this weekend, speaking of self-defense. So why don't you give us a little brief overview on what happened?
So I real briefly, it was a training weekend for Krav Maga black belts in Southern California at the headquarters for the Krav Maga Alliance. So it was myself and other Krav Maga black belts all getting together and training together, which was cool all on its own. And it being Krav Maga, it was focused on some fairly, I'll say complex, I guess, self-defense situations in that they're a little bit scary. So if you're on the ground getting hit with a stick, if you're on the ground and somebody's jumping on you with a knife, if you're on the ground and somebody's pointing a gun at you, these kinds of situations.
So like definitely the far end of the spectrum, right? You know,
right.
hopefully,
Extreme.
Hopefully nobody ever has to be in that scenario.
Yeah,
but
those are extreme scenarios.
There are avenues to train that. So really quick, what is Krav for those of them that don't know what Krav is?
So in a nutshell, Krav Maga is an Israeli form of self-defense. It's a system that was originally put together by a man named Emi Lichtenfeld for the Israeli army back in the late 40s. After his experience as a freedom fighter in World War II, fighting Nazis in Eastern Europe and the Middle East as well, and it focuses on real basic, simple brass tacks type of stuff. It's meant to be easy to learn, easy to apply, because they were teaching it to soldiers in boot camp who had to kind of, get shoved through boot camp pretty quick.
You got 8 weeks to learn and get out there.
Right. So then you got to go defend yourself. So and it's a passion of mine because of its focus on simplicity, practicality, and real world self-defense. So.
Absolutely. So a lot of times people, they get this idea or notion about martial arts and it has to be all complex and crazy and these fancy twists and pivots and jump kicks and stuff like that. And most of the time those are to help strengthen our bodies and to be able to be more agile, not as much for self-defense purposes.
Right, yeah. So it's like if you went to the gym and pumped iron, you would get stronger, and that would help you in self-defense. A lot of martial arts exercises are a little bit more on the physical conditioning side, as far as not maybe raw strength, but coordination, balance, flexibility, mobility, Absolutely. Things like that.
So one thing that I really wanted to touch on today is that self-defense is a diminishing skill. And that's something that we talk about a lot in martial arts. And pretty much any skill that you learn will diminish over time. Like nothing just stays in our memory banks and we can perform it the same if we don't do it for 2 years and try and do it on those ends. It's not going to be the same. So with self-defense, and let's pretend that we're talking to one of our parents out there. So we got our students that come to class twice a week, and maybe we got a parent that's a parent of a red belt or something. They've been watching the program, but what advice might you give them to protect themselves, their families, and things to think about? What would be
so
their
here's
approach?
the great thing is that I would say 99% of self-defense starts up here, right? And if you're smart and you're observant, then it never has to go hands-on, right? You never put yourself in the situation where you have to use physical skills. Right. I always look at physical skills in martial arts and self-defense as like the insurance policy that you take out on your car, all right? Your driver's insurance, your house insurance. It's something that's good to have that you hope you never need.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you're smart, you won't need it.
Right.
So just the first step is being observant and being aware of what you do on a daily basis as a habit. And if there's anything that you can do, the first place I would say, you mentioned earlier, yearly, quarterly, whatever. Every 21 days, it takes 21 days to start a habit. So every 21 days, give or take, and let's call it a month. So every month, if you just sit down, think about your daily routine, and pick one thing that you're going to change, add, or take away that will make you a little safer, and work on that thing for a month. and then it sort of stays with you, and then the next month move on to something else.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So if you guys don't have the opportunity, ability, maybe the body can't get out on the mat and train and stuff like that, but those mental aspects definitely make a big difference. So a couple of them, I'll throw one out there. Maybe you could throw one out is like when you get gas. So in your car, I know that you've brought this situation up a lot. Is a lot of times, we want to get to work on time, so we don't get gas beforehand, and then maybe after work it's dark or whatever, and I'm driving home and I'm starting to creep towards empty. And now all of a sudden I have to stop, right? Because I can't make it home before I'm able to run out of gas. So I got to make sure that I'm being safe and not running out of gas on the road. But then I put myself in an awkward situation where I could be at a gas station that's maybe not well lit, maybe in an area I don't know as well as my hometown or where my work is, something like that.
Yep.
What other scenarios might be something to think about?
The real simple one, and a lot of people already do this, so this is a good example of stuff that most people using a little bit of common sense are already doing right? Just keep the doors locked in your home, right? So everybody locks the doors probably when they're leaving it, but when you come home and you're in your house, even if you're just hanging around, right, it's pretty easy every time you come inside and close the door to go ahead and lock the bolt or whatever it is that you have, right? It's not a hard thing to do. But if you get yourself into the habit of it, it does make you maybe just a little bit more secure, right?
Yeah.
Because bad things don't always happen when we're away from home. The possibility exists that bad things could happen. Maybe not necessarily, inside your house, but on the street outside your house, something could happen.
Yeah.
And if your doors are locked when it does, you're just a little bit better off.
That's an insurance policy you kind of
exactly.
talked about. Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make yourself a little bit more safe. Like Shihan said, it's mostly the mental aspects because bad guys and things like that usually don't just appear out of nowhere. It's not like poof, they're there, some magic or something like that. Usually there's something that's happening. Maybe they've been watching you and you're not paying attention. I guess the last one that I would throw out there is just watch where you're using your cell phones. Like don't walk through the parking lot texting and calling. If you got a Bluetooth, use that to make your calls so that you can still be coherent and figure out what's going on. Have both your hands available. But definitely watch. I see a lot of people on their phones and not paying attention, and that's usually where you're putting yourself at risk. So.
And not just from bad guys. It doesn't take someone with malicious intent to accidentally bump you with their car because you stepped out into the road because you were on your phone, right?
Right.
So you could just trip on something. So all kinds of accidents could happen by lack of awareness. So get off the phone.
Exactly. So anyways, just some basic tips on what to do about your self-defense if you're thinking, man, I'd really like to be a little bit more safe, or you were going through this conversation with us and you're like, oh, that's a good point. There's always avenues to reach out for that. We're a little bit biased. You're more than welcome to come see us, but feel free to visit anyone your local martial arts schools, visit a Krav school. There's jiu-jitsu out there. You just know kind of why you want to defend yourself and what you're looking for. Like if I'm going to a jiu-jitsu school, I'm going to do a lot more ground stuff. So am I versatile on getting out of there and running away, or kind of what's my mindset? But we do have a self-defense clinic here going on at the school. What's the date on that one again, sir?
That's going to be the 28th, September 28th, Friday night.
All right, so come on down. It's free to the Elk Grove community. Anybody that wants to come, parents, hopefully we'll see you guys there. We try and do these at least once a quarter so that you guys can brush up on some of that awareness that we talked about. And then we'll do some physical stuff too, so it's not just lecture. There will be some times where we'll get to do some...
And even if you can't make it, right, you probably know somebody in your life that you care about that could use a little bit of safety training, even for a night, right? That's something. So
absolutely,
pass it on.
A little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks for tuning in, Shihan. We always appreciate it having you here. It's always a good conversation. We'll see you guys next week for episode number 5. Take care.